there's anything that makes my skin crawl, it's a bandwagoner. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the October 3rd, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. Or check out KistlerLawFirm.com. One word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. All right, this is going to be a little bit different in terms of format. RamView. I was in the Valley of the Sun over the weekend, driving back from Phoenix. So I saw the Ram game all by myself in not the Ram Cave, but in a hotel room, a nice hotel room. And I got back yesterday, and so it was too late to do a show. And so I'm just going to do a brief overview of just some of the things that popped to me. You've talked about the game. You've probably seen some other podcasts or heard some other podcasts that broke down a lot of those things, the game specifically. I'm just going to hit on some points that I wanted to make as I was putting together, and then we'll do a regular full show mañana. So speaking of points, I hit on 13 of 16 picks this week. And I say that not as a gambler, but just saying who's going to win, right? Including the Rams-Colts. I predicted the Rams would win 28-24. And in the midst of my anguish and my stress, it turned out it was 29-23. I didn't even realize how close I was to hitting this. So, yeah, predicted 28-24. Rams won 29-23. And, yeah, I am that guy that's going to mention when he gets real close. All right, so quick stuff, real quick right off the top here. Everyone's saying it. I've heard it all over the place. Listen to a lot of different podcasts on the way home. Brett Maher hits those 2 field goals. It's a completely different fourth quarter, completely different outcome. But I'll say this. We're not at a point where we need to start looking for a new kicker. Maybe we just need to make sure all of his bombs are from outside 50 or 55 yards. But I wouldn't stress just yet on looking for a kicker, okay? This game was a game I had circled when the schedule came out, or the format of the schedule came out. We knew who the Rams were playing back in the spring, and then I think it was later on they told us in what order, and I figured out this is going to be an 0-3 start for the Rams. I thought it's not going to start well, but they needed to win this Colts game. So really, for most of this season, I've kept my stress level down, but my stress level was really high because this is a game, if the Rams are going to have any kind of conversation about competing this year, even if they were 0-3 or 1-2 coming in, they had to beat the Colts. You have to beat the Colts where the Colts are in their restructure, rebuild, reload, whatever they're doing. You had to beat them to even be considered anything substantial for 2023. And they got it. The Rams got the win. And because it's a young team, the Rams, a young defense, there are going to be periods where it looked ugly. So, hey, we got the win, and that's all that matters. Rams beat the Colts 29-23 in OT. So just in the order that things came up, I want to get this out there because I feel really terrible about not doing a show yesterday. I need to apologize to my sponsors. Number one, Matthew Stafford's arm is so freaking elite. I hope you appreciate it. This guy can put balls in where you're just saying, don't throw it. And then you see where he places it. It's unbelievable. Stafford's arm is elite. And of course, we know anybody with an elite arm is going to take big risks because they're in a position to take those risks where the average, how could I say, Chase Daniel is not. But Matthew Stafford's arm is elite. And yeah, Puka Nacua I can't stand bandwagoners, but Puka Nacua has hands. The dude has hands. The one where in the game where he's running across on the crossing pattern and you see him just fully extend up, in another day and age, that's broken ribs. But just the way he reaches up and grabs it. Yeah, you got to love what the Rams got there. Okay, so let's get to some more nitty gritty here. Second point was, while I was happy that Anthony Richardson started the game instead of Gardner Minshew, because I felt Minshew would have played a little bit more. He's a veteran. He would have known how to pick apart this Rams defense and those rookies, those young players better. I knew something was different the first time Richardson took off to run. I thought, oh, man, he's already running. I think it was on their very first possession. But I don't know if anyone noticed it. No one talked about it. But here Richardson has been in the league for 3 NFL weeks, right? He missed the 3rd week because he was still coming out of concussion protocol from being knocked out of his 2nd game. And then in his 1st game, he kind of banged his knee or his heel or something in their opener against Jacksonville. And he missed the end of that game as well. And so already, some bangs and bruises are starting to pile up on this kid. And so I just thought it was really interesting that on their first possession, he took off running. And what did the dude do? He slid. And it told me this dude gets it and he's coachable. And I have to say, I made a note. I don't know where my thing is. Right here. I made a note that he could be trouble. And a guy with that kind of talent, harnessing that talent, listening to his coaches, that is not something Cam Newton would have done, but it is something Anthony Richardson did. And it's something that the rest of the AFC South should be thinking about going forward. 3, I appreciate Puka Nacua. I appreciate all the Puka Nacua talk and all the fawning. Perfectly acceptable. I appreciate Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma. They are not the worst broadcast team on the planet. I think they're fine. I don't get disappointed when I hear those guys are calling a game. It's weird because I was seeing a morning window game, but I was on the road in Phoenix. But literally that game yesterday was one of the worst produced games I've ever seen. Fox should be ashamed of themselves. Key plays and key moments were just glossed over. I don't know what the directors, producers were thinking. Let's hit a couple of those. The key moment where the game seemed to have turned was when Stafford got knocked down. And the next time we see the Rams quarterback, he's already on the sideline hopping around. But they did no breakdown to see if the Colts edge rusher, Deo Odabingo, Odiengbo, he's 6'6", 286, right? We'll call him Chuck. You see him hit Stafford, and you're not quite sure whether he dropped all of his weight on him. And there was no replay. There was no highlight. There was no, hey, we think it might have happened here. They just completely glossed over it. The personal foul on Kobe Durant down by the goal line where he had been flushed out, I think by Donald, I think it was Donald that flushed Richardson out, and then Durant came up and apparently smacked Richardson in the face. He very well might have. But that extended a Colts drive in the second half that was critical, and the producer and the director gave us no shot of that. The late holding call on Joe Noteboom that caused the Rams a possession, they did nothing on that. And then on the turnover play where THT comes in for his one snap, Trey Tomlinson, and they call holding. And somebody on Twitter actually clipped that play, and we knew it when we were watching it, but actually clipped that play where you saw the actual play. It was a pretty weak holding call, but they didn't even show you the highlight. They didn't even show the replay, and I thought it was just really a bad game. It's like, hey, tell me what I'm seeing here. Tell me what I'm seeing, and they did a poor job. My fourth point, Van Jefferson actually made some contested catches. Is it anything that should elevate him to any spot other than fourth receiver after Cooper Kupp comes back? No. But he made some catches yesterday. Let's give the dude some credit. So I'm watching Kyrene Williams yesterday, as we all were. We were just loving Kyrene Williams, right? Hoping that he's going to hold up. And all of a sudden it hit me. He's Greg Bell. Now, again, I understand the color of my hair, the cracks in my face. Most people might not remember Greg Bell. Greg Bell came in after Eric Dickerson. He was actually part of the whole Dickerson deal, the 3-team deal between the Rams, the Bills, and the Colts. But Greg Bell came in, and he had 2 great 1,000-yard seasons for the Rams in 88, 89. And he ran for 31 touchdowns, 15 and 16 touchdowns each in those years. Kyren Williams runs about 5'9", Greg Bell about 5'10". Kyren Williams is 195 to 200 pounds. Greg Bell was 210. Both played at Notre Dame, and I guarantee you, no one's really going to remember Kyren Williams unless he does something amazing. But this guy's going to have a productive NFL career if he stays healthy, and that's awesome, right? Just like no one remembers Kyren Williams because he came over after Dickerson, and then Falk came, right? And then Steven Jackson, and then you had Todd Gurley, and then you go back to the ancients, and you got Lawrence McCutcheon and Scooter Bass, and a guy that was lost in there that had a couple of great seasons for the Rams was Greg Bell. Very instrumental in getting the Rams to the NFC Championship game in 89. And I was looking at Kyren Williams, and I'm thinking, wow, this guy reminds me of Greg Bell. Point number 6, we asked the Rams for Noteboom and Dotson. Let's get Dotson activated, and let's get Noteboom at left tackle, and let's not screw around, and let's deactivate or get Zachary Thomas off the active roster. All these things were true. Dotson was fantastic at right guard. And no matter what you think about the PFF ratings, Joe Noteboom did a solid job. The ratings at PFF are good. They're a baseline, though. They should not replace what you saw. And what you saw was Noteboom playing very competently at left tackle, where the grades for PFF have him listed as incompetent. And you have to go with what you saw in that. Point number 7, I thought it was interesting that a week ago people were mad at McVay for not running the ball enough. And it was during the course of the game on Sunday that the clicks were coming in that people were getting mad at him for being too conservative, that for not throwing the ball late in the first half and in scoring opportunities in the second half. And yeah, I thought he got a little too conservative, but I thought it was interesting that he just couldn't seem to make anybody happy. I thought there was a nice balance yesterday. There was a couple times there I thought, hey man, let's not settle for the field goal. And I think we know this in the NFL. You know, you start settling for field goals. Remember this: before the Rams lost to the Bengals on Monday night, they were ahead 9-6. And you can't just keep settling for field goals. I think maybe once during the course of a game you can settle for a field goal. But man, when you're kicking the ball and it's 6-0 and 9-0, that means 3 possessions could be wiped out literally in one score by your opponent. And so yeah, I understand what people were saying. Speaking of that running game, I think it's clear that Ronnie Rivers, who I think had about 9 carries on Sunday, great job getting him in there. I think it's clear that Ronnie Rivers is an NFL running back, and he's not just practice squad fodder, right? Meaning he's not Raymond Calais or AJ Rose or any of those other stiffs that were around when he came through, right? He's not Jake Funk, right? Ronnie Rivers is an NFL running back, and I really hope they offset Kyren Williams' touches with more Ronnie Rivers. I thought Rivers looked really well. And Rivers, again, you think about it. I think up until the Saturday I went out to the Rams practice into July. I think it was into July, 1st of August. And currently on the Rams roster at that time, it was Cam Akers, it was Kyren Williams, it was Zach Evans, and then also at that point, Sony Michel was still in the house, and we were all shocked, where's Sony Michel? And we didn't realize that morning Sony Michel decided to retire. The 5th guy in that rotation there was Ronnie Rivers. It really looked like Ronnie Rivers wasn't going to have a spot on this team. And then lo and behold, Sony Michel retires. Cam Akers wears out his welcome. And now Ronnie Rivers is now the Rams complimentary back to Kyren Williams. And I thought it was really cool. Good for Ronnie Rivers. He scores a winning touchdown in a playoff game. He's got a movie of the week. Number 9, One of the things that surprised me was I don't know why the Colts didn't lean more on Zach Moss to take some of the pressure off Anthony Richardson, especially early in the game. They didn't. Yeah, Mr. Barker. Yeah, he did. He had a great game, a great season. Greg Bell, very often forgot. Thank you for looking that up. But speaking of that, why didn't the Colts lean more on Zach Moss, take some of that pressure on Anthony Richardson? The Rams defense was solid, but they can be run on. They're not going to stonewall anybody. And I thought Moss would have given some help to Richardson. Well, the interesting thing is when I see number 21 for the Colts, I don't think Zach Moss. I'm thinking Rick Volk or Bob Sanders. Man, Bob Sanders, huh? That's a great safety. Number 11, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a bad call by the Colts on 4th and 7 with 3:36 left in the third to go for it. I thought after Richardson got them in the scoring range, they should have kicked that field goal. I bet at the end of the game they wish they had as well. Did you notice at the 2:28 mark of the third quarter, this is point number 12, that I didn't realize that Tyler Higbee had banged up or jammed his thumb, that Bryson Hopkins was in there for a few snaps, but there was one snap in there in the third where he was in the backfield. And I thought that was a new look. I love those little offset tweaks and looks that McVay gets. And I thought that was interesting. I think Hopkins is talented. It's just kind of find the right spot for him. I don't think he's coming back next year, but I do like him. On the Anthony Richardson scoring run, Zach Moss wasn't in the backfield. And how do you not know that Richardson is not going to run the ball when Zach Moss isn't in the backfield on that play where Richardson scored? I thought that was funny. It's like, yeah, Richardson's going to run the ball on this one. I don't think you need to be Nostradamus to figure it out. Point number 14, it was 23-23 in the fourth. Rams get the ball back. Atwell makes an apparent catch going out of bounds, and it's ruled a catch. And you have to know, don't these teams, especially a team like the Rams, don't they have a code word to call out to race to the line and snap the ball on the first sound if there's a potential for a review of a play? I just don't understand why these teams dog it so much. Rolling Colt, yeah, there's no boss. Please, Mr. Barker. Yeah, how do you not have a code word? You yell fire, you yell code, you yell red, and everyone knows that you're going to get to the line of scrimmage and you're just going to snap the ball before they can blow the whistle to let a review come in. I'm stunned at that. Actually, back in the day when I used to play first base and loyal RamView follower played shortstop in some of the leagues we were in, if somebody took a big turn around first base, I would yell Pedro. That was our code word. If somebody took too big of a lead, rounding first after a single, the idea was, I'll yell Pedro, don't think about it, just turn and heave the ball towards first base. It was just a code word. I cannot believe an NFL team does not have, like the Rams, does not have a code word to go to if there's a questionable catch. Get your butt to the line of scrimmage, get the line set, and you snap the ball on the first sound. Drove me crazy. Trying to figure out, number 15, what was up with the Rams defense in the second half. Yeah, they got a little sloppy. There were some cheap calls. And also, I think it was a combination of one, as well as this defense plays at times, we have to remember it's a young defense. It really is. It's a young defense. And they're going to make mistakes. They're still learning how to play in the NFL. We talked about snaps, right? I talked about snaps, and somebody else picked up that blurb I posted on Twitter and talked about on the show, that coming into this season, Aaron Donald had 7,000 plus career snaps. The other 10 starters on that defense had 5,000 combined, and of the 5,000, 3,000 of them were Ernest Jones and Jordan Fuller. So this is a real inexperienced defense. So I think that played a part in it. But I also wonder if a little bit of fatigue played in, right? 2 cross-country trips inside of a week might have taken a toll by the time the fourth quarter turned around. I like Michael Hoyt. I think Michael Hoyt's improved, but you can't have Michael Hoyt at second level, shallow third level coverage, pass coverage. That's just not going to happen. I actually think the biggest part about the Colts coming back in the second half was a little bit of those things with the Rams. I think there's a couple cheap calls, some fatigue, some youth. But let's face it, I think Anthony Richardson took a big step forward. He made some throws that I haven't seen Lamar Jackson make. And his future looks bright, especially when you go back to he opened that game, he slid. You could hear his coaches probably were in his head, bro, you got to get down. It's not about winning the war in the first quarter or on the first play of the first drive, right? And I saw him slide. This is a guy that's learning from his coaches, and this is a guy that's going to be better a lot sooner than some people think. And I thought we saw some of that yesterday against the Rams. Finally, I do want to get out that Matthew Stafford is a beast, and it's amazing that when you watch the national highlights, it's amazing how they talk about Puka, which is cool. I'm all into the Puka thing. Unfortunately, they talked about Taylor and Travis quite much too often. And they'll talk about other things, but they never seem to talk about Stafford. And Stafford was amazing yesterday. I don't know what it is. Is Stafford too white? Does he just look too cocky? Is he not personable enough? I don't know what it is. But, when it comes to the phrase of getting your flowers, Matthew Stafford gets no flowers. And that guy, I'll take his arm along with anybody else's in the NFL, especially when you throw in the accuracy there. And then bruised hip, and he just keeps going out there. It would have been so easy for him to bail. You got to appreciate Matthew Stafford. That's the reason we got a ring, guys. The way he played yesterday, that's the reason the Rams got a ring, and that's why that trade with Jared Goff was one of the best trades in history. Okay, Rams pulled out that win. Thank you, everybody, for clicking on. 2-2, Mr. Burns, 2-2. There we go. Okay, around the NFL, last night was a coming out party for Devon Witherspoon, the Illinois CB. It was really cool. It was interesting to see because I think Kobe Durant is a boundary corner for the Rams, and they've got him playing that star position or that inside slot corner this year, and he's having some struggles, right? Working hard, but having some struggles. And Devon Witherspoon, they were talking about, was playing slot last night, and he did a really good job. But I do have this to say. If anyone has watched football, right, every high school coach in America should be showing how Jamal Adams got his bell rung 9 plays into his return last night, right? This veteran safety goes into Daniel Jones head down. It was the sloppiest thing I'd ever seen. For an NFL player, he goes in there heads down, knee gets him in the noggin, and he's down. He's wobbly, man. He looked terrible. He looked like Jerry Quarry. I mean, he was a mess, right? And then later on, Witherspoon did the same thing on this big tackle he made. You see his head go down, and I was stunned that Aikman and Buck didn't even talk about that one. They did talk about Jamal Adams, and Adams was all upset that he was getting taken out of the game, but it was terrible. Bad fundamentals, bad technique, and here's the part that bugs me. You got these NFL players, first-round pick, 5th overall. You got a guy that's been a Pro Bowler before, Jamal Adams, and they're tackling and leading with their helmets, right? So bad fundamentals, bad technique, and when the neck injury occurs, the KBM will be blaming football for it. The culture will be blaming football for it. Everyone looking to take down football when they practice bad fundamentals and bad technique. Also, note to high school coaches, stop hiring walk-ons, start hiring professional coaches, or just cancel your program, right? I don't mind the occasional walk-on, but when a school has a walk-on that's the player of a walk-on, that's the player of a walk-on, that's like a 5th generation walk-on, you get bad fundamentals, bad technique, and that's when injuries occur, all right? And football gets blamed for it. Off my soapbox. Speaking of injuries, was Brian Daboll punishing Daniel Jones by leaving him in that game last night? I mean, I get it. Daniel Jones wasn't great, right? but the guy's getting his butt kicked left and right. He's got no receivers. He's got no running back. And he's got an offensive line that looks so bad. I thought it was the 2022 Rams. I thought Matt Skura was out there. I thought Jeremiah Colon was out there. It was terrible. And it's like at a certain point, the guy is probably seeing double. He's been hit so much. And that's why he threw the pick six to Witherspoon. I mean, what else is he supposed to do? Do I like Jones? I think Jones is okay. I think he takes a bad rap, but the rest of that team, the Giants are awful. And I had the Giants in, was it week 17? The Rams play the Giants in New York on December 31st. And I had that game as an iffy game because I thought the Giants would be a potential wild card team. If the Rams are still competitive by the time they get to New York on December 31st, count that one as a win. All right. Going back to Sunday night's game. Sunday night's game was interesting. That wasn't a holding on Donovan Smith on Jermaine Johnson Sunday night. Not at all, right? Number 79, the Chiefs holding number 11 of the Jets as Mahomes runs that long drive. And neither was that flag laid on Sauce Gardner on that interception. It was terrible, just terrible. Personally, I think the refs are Swifties. I really do. I think they're Swifties. And I think Robert Saleh had every right to be upset. And honestly, the NFL's kind of a joke in one sense, is that Robert Saleh should have came out and said, hey, you know what? The media is allowed to come out and say players sucked at their job tonight. We're able to come out and say, that Zach Wilson's garbage, right? No one gets stopped for anything. Maybe sometimes, maybe some people in the NFL, some of the coaches whose careers are on the line, right? What does NFL stand for? Not for long. When they make calls like that, Jerry Glanville said. Robert Saleh should be able to come out and say, those refs suck to the public. They sucked. And I'm not saying they cost them the game 100%, but boy, did they have an influence on it. And I felt bad for the Jets. And honestly, the Chiefs are a team I've kind of leaned towards a lot over the years. I kind of like the Chiefs. But man, the Chiefs right now, they're kind of becoming insufferable, right? They're kind of coming insufferable. And I like Mahomes. I do. I think he is great, but they're kind of getting insufferable. And that leads us to Rodney Harrison, right? Rodney Harrison on the NBC postgame was trying to bait Chris Jones. And again, I like Patrick Mahomes. I love Chris Jones. The way Chris Jones wouldn't take the bait when Rodney Harrison was trying to get him to bag on Zach Wilson. Chris Jones, a class act. And I thought that was terrible. I've always liked Rodney Harrison, but I thought he was terrible on Sunday. And then I learned on Monday he walked it back, and I guess he issued an apology. But I think you could say a player sucks, but you don't have to try to convince somebody else to agree with you and make them say, yeah, a player sucks. Number 5, last ad, Swift and Stafford. Okay, this is the small part of me. This is the part of me that's the part of me that gets very, what's the word? Small, petty, spiteful. This is the part of me that says when I watch a football game with the Rams playing, you better be a Ram fan if you're coming to the Ram Cave. You're not allowed in if you're just here to watch the commercials or you're a Cowboys fan. No riffraff with me watching the game, right? Okay. I get the feeling there is a growing faction of silent but dedicated Chief fans who are terrified of the bad mojo, jinx, hex Taylor Swift is bringing to their team. And it might not happen right now, and it didn't happen Sunday night. Got close, but I think a really bad kaboom is coming. I think the Chiefs are cruising for a bruising. I think something really awful is coming their way, and they better get that woman out because I don't believe she's a fan, and I think Travis Kelce is just a little too caught up in Travis Kelce, and that's going to doom that team. And right along with that, I'm watching the Ram game. I'm in Phoenix. I'm watching the Ram game, and I see Stafford's hobbling along there in the fourth quarter, and then there's a commercial for the Fox show The Masked Singer, and Leslie Chow, the Kim Jeong, the guy from The Masked Singer, they're all in their promos in their NFL jerseys, and someone allowed a Matthew Stafford jersey to be given to Kim Jeong. That's bad mojo. Does anyone recognize that? that just brings bad vibes, bad luck, jinx type stuff to your quarterback. And sure enough, Stafford had a bruised hip. Yeah, I know it's immature, but this stuff still matters. I mean, there are people who know what the vibe is. You can't do it. So get that jersey away from that clown, please. Okay. Ram injury update. Honestly, you don't want to see anyone get hurt, but this injury list is such a joy after last year. Stafford, bruised hip, right? Not cracked hip. It didn't say hip pointer or hip flexor. It said bruised hip. Same thing with Kyren Williams, bruised hip. Higbee, thumb. Joe Noteboom, strained groin, which can be painful, but he finished the game. And Alaric Jackson, they said, or McVay said, was close to playing, but they held him out, and they got a win, and they held on, and Noteboom showed he could still play left tackle. And so that's it. That's all that McVay mentioned. We might have some names come up when the injury report comes out on, was it Thursday or Friday? And we'll see. Going through the Rams roster, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell. Atwell continues just to make those plays that, we want him to get over the top, but teams are taking that stuff away, and Atwell's proving that he can catch the ball anywhere on the field. And, of course, Nacua, right? We amazing. He truly is amazing. Van Jefferson better. Cooper Kupp coming back. That'll be fun. Higbee made some nice catches. Of course, we mentioned Bryson Hawkins. Davis Allen got 2 snaps. Kyren Williams, I think I said max, I wanted this guy to get 20 touches or 25 touches. He had 25 carries, 28 touches. He had 3 receptions. But the interesting thing is he had a 20-yard run. And I remember people last week were complaining that he had no run longer than 9 yards. Is 20 yards sufficient enough? We want a quality, efficient running back. You got a quality, efficient running back. He doesn't need to go 80 yards with a burst. We talked about Stafford. That's cool. The PFF grades in regard to the offensive line, again, those are baseline. They're a great place to start, but we know what we saw, right? And Noteboom didn't grade out real well. In fact, Noteboom graded out poorly, but did he do a poor job yesterday? Did he really do a poor job? I thought he did an excellent job. So did Avila. Shelton grades out well. And Kevin Dotson graded out really well. But we also saw that, right? We saw how well he played. And Havenstein, again, was solid, meaning that 9 years into his career, that second round, 57th overall pick in 2015 out of Wisconsin, Rob Havenstein is still a beast manning right tackle. Nice job, Les Snead, making that draft pick all those years ago. Secondary, Russ East and Jordan Fuller, not grading out great, but we know what we're seeing. We like these guys. We don't see those big blown coverage situations like we were seeing with Taylor Rapp and Nick Scott. I love our secondary. I like what Kendrick and Witherspoon and Durant are giving us. I would like to see a little bit more out of THT, but we'll see. We'll see that going forward. Ernest Jones playing well. Christian Roseboom had a quietly nice game. Michael Hoyt, 15 snaps in coverage at the second and sometimes third level, depending on how you want to rate it. It's too much. And his numbers, he's holding the edge. He's tackling is better. He didn't get as much opportunity to rush the passer this week, but 15 snaps in deep in coverage, that's just asking too much for a guy that's 6'4", 310 that, at this time a year ago was an interior defensive lineman. I like Michael Hoyt. I like him holding the edge, but I think you got to figure out something better if you're going to ask him to drop in coverage. We're all good with Byron Young. The interior defenders, this is exciting. Kobe Turner had been playing really well. He picked up 34 snaps yesterday. Jonah Williams has been playing well, 33 snaps. Of course, we know who Aaron Donald is, but this was the good news. Bobby Brown played 32 snaps and was solid in there, as well as Deshaun Johnson, Mr. Irrelevant. He picked up 5 snaps this week. That's 10 snaps in the last 2 weeks. And quietly, the Rams are developing depth at that interior defensive position that's helping Donald. And again, Kobe Young, Bobby Brown Young, Johnson Young, Jonah Williams still young in terms of time and experience, but this is a good deal. This Rams defense is developing. Okay, I'm Joe Terosian. Thank you. Sorry, I can see my comments here. I can't respond to my comments. Don't try to make me laugh. I'm Joe Terozzi. I was a sports writer for 21 years, and now I do RamView thanks to our sponsors at Mid-Valley, KistlerLawFirm.com. You come in on Tuesday, it's all thrown off. It should be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Kistler Law Firm, and of course, Temple City Auto for helping us to allow us to do this show. I also write books. I'm a sports writer who writes football books, and you can check those out on Amazon. Type in joeterozian.com. Tim Burns, Dwayne Barker. You should buy one just to help keep the kid going here. I do all that because it helps support me in my day job. I pastor a small church in Burbank Faith Nazarene, and that can be seen right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual on that channel, as well as all across social media. Okay, real quick here, college football games this weekend. Utah, Oregon State. I saw that one. That one was tough. Georgia at Auburn. I don't understand why that game was so close. USC at Colorado. I will say this. USC's not winning a national title this year. They have an offense that can win a national title, but until Lincoln Riley decides he wants to be serious, the Grinch is going to steal the national title. They are not going to win a national title with this defense because you're going to come face to face with some other offenses that could put points up just like you can. I'm rooting for them, but nah. Kansas at Texas. Kansas lost their quarterback before the game. Longhorns, I guess. LSU at Ole Miss. That was an interesting game. That was a fun game. And during the course of it, I still prefer ex-USC quarterback Jackson Dart to ex-ASU quarterback Jaden Daniels, who plays for LSU. I know people like Jaden Daniels, but when the game is big, Jaden Daniels doesn't seem to produce. I think he'll play in the NFL. I just don't think he's great. I was glad Ole Miss got the game, got the win. And then Notre Dame at Duke. I felt bad for the Dukies, but I've always been a Sam Hartman fan, even when he was at Wake Forest. The Irish, though, aren't going anywhere. Hartman and company are fun and cool to watch, but they're not really going to go anywhere. Is it Ohio State they have next week? We'll get to that tomorrow. Like I said, I was 13-3 this week in games picked. I did take the Lions over the Packers. I did take the Jaguars over the Falcons. I think they've seen enough of Desmond Ridder. Bills over the Dolphins. I took that one. And Bills got punched in the face a little bit. And not the Bills, the Dolphins did. The Bills punched the Dolphins in the face a little bit. And now we're going to find out a little bit more about how the Dolphins compete against teams that can hit and really come out. Vikings, Panthers, boy, it felt like a preseason game. They're 0-4. Everyone's saying, Bryce Young doesn't have talent around him. But, that offense was a little more alive with veteran Andy Dalton. Bryce Young's just not ready. He's just not ready. And I think there already is some buyer's remorse in Carolina. Maybe not in the room in Carolina, but somewhere on Tobacco Road, someone's thinking, man, I wish we'd have gone another direction instead of Bryce Young. Broncos, Bears. I did see a rant early this morning from Colin Cowherd saying that looking at the numbers, you can tell that Russell Wilson's not washed. Can I tell you, as a Ram fan, he never put fear in us. The last 2 years he was there. Russ is, if he's not washed, he's pretty close to being washed. He played the Redskins or the Taxskins, right? He's played some teams, the Jets. He's played some teams that. Not the Jets, the Raiders. He's played some teams that, you can get fat on your stats there. And I think Denver's got real problems beating the Bears 31-28. I don't know if that's really something to celebrate. I think the Browns have problems. The Ravens got a nice win. They went in there. They took care of business. I don't know what the Browns defense was thinking. They just decided to take the day off just because Deshaun Watson wasn't playing. And all I know is Browns front office and ownership has to feel really stupid for all the money they gave Deshaun Watson. Steelers, Texans, boy, oh boy, oh boy. People should have been fired before they got out of there. I don't care if Kenny Pickett's knee is bad right now. He shouldn't be starting. And Matt Canada should not even be in the building. I don't know what the Steelers are doing. The Steelers are, honestly, I'm weighing the Steelers and the Cardinals. I thought the Steelers were a Super Bowl contender, and I thought the Cardinals were the worst team in the NFL. Those are my two biggest swings and misses this season. And the Steelers, this is terrible. This is just awful. I do give credit to Houston because they won the game. C.J. Stroud's playing within himself, and they seem to be helping him, surrounding him with good stuff, even though their offensive line is in disarray. 30-6. Pittsburgh, man, you got to write this thing now because you were lucky to beat the Browns. You need to pull this together, and you struggled against the Raiders. So this Steeler team could easily, and I think Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri, knows this team could easily, with a few different bounces, be 0-4. Buccaneers are the softest 3-1 I've ever seen, but they beat the Saints. We did say Baker Mayfield would have a great day. I think Mayfield threw 3 touchdown passes. Mike Evans is hurt right now, but hey, let's give that team, Todd Bowles and that team, some credit after Brady, after a lot of changes and turnovers, and Mayfield. They're 3-1, so good for Tampa Bay. The Eagles survive the Taxskins, 34-31, and yeah, the Eagles are cruising for a bruising. They are the weakest 4-0 team I've seen. They've got tons of talent, and I've written off this Ram game. When I first heard the Rams were playing them, that I didn't think the Rams stood a chance against the Eagles, but somebody's ready to stick a pin in the Eagles. I hope it's the Rams, but somebody's ready to burst that bubble because they're getting by the skin of their teeth. And I'm hoping that maybe they might be looking past the Rams a little bit, and that the Rams could be the ones that get them. And the Rams are capable of getting them. Because the Eagles aren't playing the way they should be playing. They play the way they should be playing. Yeah, they should blow out the Rams, but they're not. They're not. And so I'm anxious to say, I still think Philly wins against the Rams, but I think might not be the blowout we all think it is. Titans, Bengals, Tennessee 27-3. The Titans are horrible. And it just kills me when I saw that score. Because I can't help but think what the Rams did last Monday night to give away that game. Chargers, Raiders, 24-17. I guess when Mike Williams and Austin Eckler and Joey Bosa are out, if you get a win 24-17, I guess that's okay. But the Raiders were starting Aiden O'Connell. Yeah, maybe they need to renegotiate. Justin Herbert should go back in and say, I think I'm worth $60 million a year. Because right now he is single-handedly keeping Brandon Staley employed. Brandon Staley should be passing him envelopes under the table, loaded with cash, saying, "Thank you, Justin. I still have a job, and my kids are still going to celebrate Christmas." 49ers, Cardinals. Cardinals hung with them. Frisco looked great, 35-16. But I thought it was interesting that as I was watching this game Sunday afternoon, Mark Sanchez, to me, is really developing into a pretty good commentator. And he was questioning, as it was late in the game, Frisco was inside the 5, why is Christian McCaffrey still in the game? Why is he still playing? And he said, is it really to get him another score? He said, then he says, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I thought that was for the supposed genius that Kyle Shanahan is. Why is Christian McCaffrey still in the game? Why are your starters still in the game? And I wasn't real impressed with that. And so again, Frisco is another team that I think just Julian Edelman said in the pregame show. He said, you don't want to be peaking too early, and they're peaking right now. They're playing good football, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes with them against Dallas. Cardinals, what can I say? Cardinals are not going to be an easy out. I thought they would be, but they are not going to be an easy out. Jets, Chiefs, 23-20. Really, honestly, come on. The hold on Jermaine Johnson that wasn't called, the interception, folks. Man, it was terrible. That was just a terrible call. Robert Saleh had the right to go ballistic. He was so angry, I thought he was going to grow hair on the back of his head. Chiefs fans, watch out. I don't know. Has Zach Wilson gone from worst quarterback in the NFL to the point where you're getting people saying, I'm rooting for this kid. I'm rooting for this kid. I did take the Seahawks over the Giants. I didn't think it would be that bad. I thought it was interesting how Drew Lock came in and made some things happen that were nice. I thought it was great. Gino came back in after getting banged around. And boy, Gino, man, he was getting hot last night. He was getting ticked off. And yeah, I think the Rams got the Seahawks at the right time, but I still think the Rams are a better team than the Seahawks, and I think they beat them in SoFi. Okay, who's out there? Rob Sorge. Our defense beat the Browns and the Raiders. Yes, sir. Yeah, Steeler fan Rob in Missouri. Your defense has done it all. You need to get some clarity on your team there in Pittsburgh, pal, because your season is sliding away faster than Paul Simon sings. Okay, I'm Joe Terosian, and I want to say thank you for clicking on. Man, this was supposed to be an abbreviated show. I went 45 minutes. Guys, leave comments, leave your likes, hit that share button, get folks to subscribe. Thank you so much for being patient with me. I apologize for not being on, but sometimes the day job takes precedence over this job, and that's why I'm on today. I will be on tomorrow with a look at Rams, Philly, look around the league, a look at the college football top 10, and all sorts of stuff. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your encouragement. I'll say thank you to our sponsors, Kistler Law, as well as Temple City Auto Repair. Yes, okay, I got to get this one in because it's important.
It was a stone groove, my man.
Yes, it was a stone groove show. Are we good, Mr. Barker? We good?
It was a stone groove, my man.
And Mr. Barker, since you're a photographer at those Charger games at SoFi, can you think you can get some digital evidence there of the extra money that Brandon Staley is giving Justin Herbert to save his job? I would appreciate it. Tim Burns, Rob Sorge, Dwayne Barker, everyone else that's out there, thank you so much for clicking on. God bless. Take care. And we will see you tomorrow. Don't you